Hey Johnny, this is Danny from a hotel room at 7:12 a.m. in the middle of like Madison Square Garden, so that when I woke up and wanted to get some milk for my cereal, I had to walk past like Times Square, which was empty, and it was surreal and glowing and very cool. You have not heard from me because everything has been up in the air, and a lot of it has had to do with getting my check from my landlord. My parents have stepped in and really helped me out economically so that I can just get out of here. Um, the long and short of it is that in the eviction process, they legally were able to take all of my belongings. And then later through a negotiation with them, I was able to get those belongings put in storage, and I've been negotiating getting access to those belongings so that my roommate, who's a bit of collateral damage in all of this, would be able to get his things and cut loose and, go live his life. Well, twice he had chances to go to storage and didn't show up. Maybe he was mad at me or whatever. Um, and each of those times, I didn't even have legal access to the storage unit because I was still in negotiations with the liaison to the landlord. His name is Eddie. Remember this name. It is going to show up a lot. Eddie is Jewish, and last week was Sukkot, and this week is Yom Kippur, the New Year. So Eddie is more or less unavailable most of the time. And every day that I don't sign the contract that he put forth, which gives me $5,000 for vacating the premises, it completely absolves all of my debt. But it has this really tricky clause that says anything that you've left in the apartment afterward is considered abandoned and trash. Luckily, I went and did a sweep of the apartment and found that what they presumed would be trash was my most valuable possessions. All of my artwork, family photographs, like things that were clearly sentimental, anything gay, all of it was like in this trash heap. And so when I saw that on the day that I was supposed to sign the contract, and this is about a week ago, I refused to sign the contract, which pissed off Eddie because he wanted to finish by the end of Sukkot so he could go and celebrate. And then turned into me for 3 hours, like parsing through this trash heap. He then said that I wouldn't have access to it until Monday, which was a few days ago. And on Monday, I put, my final belongings in storage and signed the contract. For the past few days, I've been trying to get the check that he gave me cashed. And he has been unavailable to do what's called verification of the check because I'm taking it to check cashing places. So in these places, if you don't have a bank account, and I don't, and that's my own fault because I left Chase after they had like charged me a lot of overdraft fees. I just walked away. If you can't verify that the check was actually like created by the person who wrote it, even if you can verify the funds are there, they won't cash it. So for the past 2 days, I've been trying to cash it. I've taken it to like 3 check cashing places, and I even looked at the name of the issuer of the check, which is some esoteric company called Customers Bank. I walked there carrying all my luggage in Midtown, only to discover that they had moved to the building next door. Walked to the building next door, only to discover that that was like their office, not a branch. I've been devastated. Everything back in, like, And for many of these nights, like, my friends have been out of town or have been, frankly, probably, unwilling to hole me up. And so I've been staying at like various hotels. And so around 6 p.m., when things start to get cold outside, I'll hop on my phone, which will have, 20% battery left, and I'll use an app to try and score like a relatively cheap hotel and get my parents to pay for it. Funny thing about hotels is that when you're paying for them online, you actually like don't pay for them online. You have to pay for them in person when you arrive. And what's shitty about that is when you buy them online with your parents' credit card and you show up in person, of course you don't have your parents' credit card. And so every night I've been like having them call or email my parents who have, now they have on hand like photocopies of their credit card and IDs that they have to send to these various hotels to prove, like, yes, we are indeed Charles Coyman, and yes, we authorize our son to stay here for one evening. Check-in is 3 p.m., check-out is usually 11. And the hotels themselves have swampy carpets and lovely, lovely ice machines and weird black and white photos of New York City that feel like the most generic of the generic silver prints you would see in like a MoMA exhibition of like uh, what's his face, Eggleston. Um, Everything is like tuned to CNN as well, so it's been like this weird loop of Donald Trump. And finally, yesterday, I was like, I'm just gonna send the check to my parents and let them deposit it into their account at Chase. They Western Unioned me some money, and I looked up flights. So it would be nice to fly out on Sunday, the 15th, and arrive to you around midnight. I know that's not ideal. I know you have work and such. But if you'd be willing to pick me up then from PDX, from Portland International, then I can finally move in halfway into the month. But it'll be something workable, I hope. And then when November comes, we can work something out as well. I should have the money by then. And I don't know what you're thinking or feeling or any of that, but it might be a good time to check in anyway. I am not allowed to make long distance phone calls from the hotel phones, so I haven't really been able to call you without incurring further fees. And so I thought this would be the cleanest, clearest, most articulate way of talking to you. And now I have to figure out a way to upload it and get it into your ears. I might just put it on YouTube. I love you. I'm looking forward to being with you, and please don't mistake my silence for absence. You have been on my mind and in my heart, and when things get really tough, I imagine telling you about them and hearing you chuckle and hearing like the labyrinthine turns left and right of this fucking journey. This city is, in its own odd way, making me say goodbye to every single nook and cranny of it. And, yesterday as I walked past the lions in front of the New York Public Library, and then across Bryant Park, and through so many little places, I was just thinking, I might come back, but I might not. And I don't really particularly care one way or another about what that signifies or means. It's just that in some strange way, the iconic quality has become emptied out. And the streets are full of people who are just living, just eating and eating and eating and clutching maps and pushing baby strollers and pushing drugs and pushing little dogs dressed up in fucking barrettes. And I don't know, the whole thing seems so beautiful but untenable. And I think nature and rest and just making things with the inbuilt audience of you and the sort of boyish, crusty, ornery, dry humor of you and Jess together might be the perfect place for Danny to intervene with his love of, holidays, and the three of us come together and have like a gestalt around Halloween. It'll just be nice to be a human being that can wake up and have a Pop-Tart or have a conversation and walk around. And I know at first I'll be tired, but I don't anticipate being weary or wearisome. And so I hope that this in some way fills in the gaps and reassures you a little bit that this like specter that you've invited into your house at great risk and vulnerability, after finally making that choice, has not speared you in that moment, and that I still appreciate your vulnerability and your offer. I am on my way. I am on my way. Okay? I look forward to it.